Okay, today we are going to be learning about composition of radicals. Alright, first step is an easy equation. F of 3 equals 3x plus 1. And what you do to solve it is you take the 3 in front of the f and put it where x should be. So it would be 3 times 3 plus 1. And through that simple math, you would get f of 3 equals 10. How to solve these type of equations is you replace the x in the equation with what's in the parentheses in front of the f. Alright, we're going to go to another example. This example is going to be the same concept, but it's going to be a little more difficult, simply because we have a square root. Alright, so f of 2 equals 2x squared plus 1. And you do the same exact thing to solve it as you did with the first one. You put the 2 where the x should be. So you would have 2 times 2 squared plus 1. And if you do the simple math, 2 times 2 squared is 8 plus 1 is 9. So f of 2 equals 9. And next we're going to move on to a medium difficulty problem. It's just going to be a little harder simply because of the fact that we're having to deal with two equations instead of one. F of g of x. And that is having the equation g inside of f of x. Alright. You start with f's equation and replace it being the x's, with equation g. Here's your first example problem. F of x equals 2x plus 2 and g of x equals x minus 3. And to solve this, you put g of x inside of f of x's equation. So you put what g of x is in the x right here. So you put x minus 3 in place of the x up here. So you would have 2 times x minus 3 plus 2. And if you'd work it all out, you'd have, well, you solve from there. We'll work it out in our next example problem, which is example number 2. F of x equals 2x plus 3 and g of x equals x plus 3. And we're actually going to work this problem out till completion. Right. F of g of x equals 2 times x plus 3 plus 3. And you have them plugged into each other. So you have to distribute the 2 among the x and then plus 3. So when you distribute, you'd have 2x plus 6 plus 3. And then from there, it is Algebra 1 math, where you would take 6 plus 3, add those two to have 9, and then you'd have 2x plus 9, and that would be your end result. F of g of x equals 2x plus 9. That is your final answer. Okay, so now we are moving on to the hard equation. And the hard equation is going to look like this. It's going to look like g of f of 2. And I use 2 as an example. It's going to be g of f of a number. And this type of equation is a lot like the medium problem, but replacing the x with a number. So instead of g of f of x, you're going to have g of f of a number, any sort of number. There are going to be a couple different rules. You may have to distribute in this one, like you had to do in the other. There will be no x's in your answer, and that's very important. And replace what you need. Alright, so the first example problem that we are going to do is going to be f of 2 equals 3x plus 2 and g of x equals x minus 2. Alright, so g of f of 2 equals 3 times 2 plus 2 minus 2. And that's a handful. But you get this number by distributing or replacing what you need to in the equation. So g of x is going to be x minus 2, and f of 2 is going to be x or 3x plus 2, but instead of x in that equation, you're going to have 2. It's going to be 3 times 2 plus 2, which you get down here, and then that 3 times 2 plus 2 is going to be in place of that x. So you put that there, and then have the minus 2 at the end. And so doing that basic math, you're going to get, you're going to have all this right here equal 8. So 3 times 2 plus 2 is going to equal 8. You subtract the 2 off the end, you're going to have g of f of 2 equals 6. So that's the first one. And again, this this type of a question is not going to end with an x in the answer, like the medium problems do. So if you do, go back because you messed up somewhere. There should be absolutely no x in your answer. I'm going to go to example number 2 here. In example 2, it's going to be the same problem, just switching up the numbers a bit to make sure we have it down. F of 3 equals 2x plus 2, and then g of x equals x plus 3. And the same exact thing as the problem to the left, you're going to replace everything, make sure everyone's in place. F of 3 equals 2x plus 2. So you take the 3 and replace it, or replace the x with the 3. So it'll be 2 times 3 plus 2, and then replace all that into x, and it'll look something like this. G of f of 3 equals 2 times 3 plus 2 plus 3. And if you do the math, 2 times 3 plus 2 all equals 8, and then you just add 3 to the end of that. And the simple math is g of f of 3 equals 11. Alright, it's the simple fact of putting the x's, the g's, and the f's into place and distributing if needed. So you just put all the equations into place. And if you put all the equations into place, that is essentially how you do the composition of radicals.